And let's assume that it was Africans that built the pyramids. But if we are assuming that, like, how were they so much smarter than everyone alive today?
Yeah.
How were they so much smarter? Let's say it's 4,500 years ago. How were they so much smarter? What was going on? Like, what happened? Did they get visited by aliens? Did they discover something that allowed their understanding of physics to be just so much greater than everybody else who's ever lived? Like, what did they discover? Like, what were they encountering? What were they consuming? What were they doing? What were they teaching each other? Where, you know, we lost so much in the burning of the Library of Alexandria, right?
Yeah, that's it's quite sad, really, isn't it? To be honest, like, there would have been a lot in. I'm not sure 100% what happened with that. I'm not sure if it was one burning or
there's several burnings. Yeah,
but clearly a lot was lost.
But then the question is, like, what did they even know? Like, what if it's older than that?
And the pyramids thing kind of plays into the fact that stone is one of the only thing that survives. And pyramids are these massive stone constructions. Like, ironically, they would be one of the only things from not that they really count as our civilization, but from the modern world, the pyramids would be one of the only things that could survive in 100,000 years. So it makes you think, like, how long have they been there? And I think the Egyptians definitely undertook some kind of construction project around the time of 2500 BC.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's records of them saying they did stuff, but that doesn't mean, because they have all these records, but there's no records of how they built it.
Well, they also, the buildings that they made that were after 2500 BC are dog shit.
So much worse.
They're terrible.
They just immediately forgot how to do it again straight away.
They were trying to copy, and they just couldn't do it. They didn't have the math. They didn't have the engineering. The stones are smaller.
And no one's claimed, they don't claim credit for the pyramids, which is weird.
Yeah.
Why would you not claim it?
Yeah, it's all weird. It's the weirdest, right? So it's the one thing that, if you're a logical person and you think you know the timeline of history, you think you understand human civilization, you think you understand, like, how intelligence evolved and how technology and innovation evolved, and you see that, you're like, oh, I don't know shit. Like, how's that statue so big and perfectly symmetrical?
They're crazy.
How are these just these vases that they don't understand?
Oh, is that a replica?
This is a 3D. And this is a 3D model of an actual vase from Egypt.
Yeah.
We have no idea how they made them. We don't know what tools they used. Anybody that says that they do, you're lying. You really don't know. You can't know. These things are perfectly symmetrical. They weren't turned on a lathe because they have handles. The way they measure them, when you look at, like, the deviation from round and, like, how it's like a thousandth of a human hair.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's made from incredibly hard granite,
Yeah,
right?
it's like the hardest stone to do that with.
So what are we talking about? Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy.
And then you have the statues that are perfectly symmetrical.
Perfectly
the faces are just incredible.
And
like,
massive.
Yeah. Huge.
Right.
Unbelievably huge.
So they moved them there, and then they carved them perfectly symmetrically. It looks like they're 3D printed.
Yeah.
It's so strange. It just screams at a lost technology.
At least. Yeah.
It screams that these people had some sort of information and some sort of education that is like on a different path of we went the way of the internal combustion engine and transistors and electronics, and it seems like they went a totally different way, but maybe even further.
Yeah.
But we're scrambled in, like, our pathway to advancement is the only one that the human mind and all its infinite creativity can conceive of.
And this is another point regarding, like, you know, culture that could have flourished back in 100,000 years ago or whatever. We're always looking for ourselves in the past.
Yes.
But there's so many different ways that we could have gone, because why did it have to be mass farming, mass population growth, and then, as you say, kind of industrial progress? It could have been so many different forms of human development and human lives.
Well, it could have been, if they had enough animals, they mostly ate animals.
Yeah, or fish or something.
Yeah, mostly ate animals and fish, which is probably healthier for you anyway. You know, really what grain is survival food.
Yeah, and we all got, like, shorter and less healthy when that happened.
Yeah, because we didn't get the right amount of protein.
Yeah.
And our jaws, like, shrunk because people were eating gruel. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at part of the world where people are eating a lot of, like, porridge and shit, their jaws get really small.
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
not
it's
good.
from.
Not good for us.
No, it's fucking terrible for we're devolving because of our diets, which is really strange. But if you think about this time, and especially that part of the world where there was so much abundant natural resources, that animal agriculture seems super simple.
Yeah.
You just corral a bunch of animals, you build a fence, and then you eat them.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to grow rice.
So many different ways that culture could have flourished.
Clearly, there's some technology that they had that we don't understand. When you talk about the drill holes that they find, or the way they had carved out these enormous, massive chunks of stone and were apparently going to move them, we don't understand.
The unfinished obelisk.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The unfinished obelisk, that's bananas. It's so many of these things that they cut out of the ground and absolutely moved are bananas.
Yeah.
So it's like, what kind of technology? Why are we assuming that it's going to be some internal combustion engine that sprays out terrible pollution? What if they had figured something out? It's entirely possible, because we're going to eventually. If you give us another 1,000 years, you will not be able to recognize any of this nonsense that we use for technology today, especially when AI gets involved. Did you see that thing where a quantum computer supposedly went 1 second back in time?
I did. I was reading that.
Is that bullshit?
No, they discovered it 6 years ago, though. It's not new.
The what?
6 years ago, it's still
that story's from
2019,
yeah.
but still.
It went back in time.
Yeah, by 1 second, and some way in quantum.
What does that even
fields.
mean?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
That's mad.
But that's us. Now imagine that technology that was science fiction 20 years ago, right? We'll go back to like the movie Alien and look at their stupid computers that they had. That this is what they thought people were going to have when they were starfaring people.
Yeah.
Now, think of this quantum computer experiment where it goes back in time 1 second and then go forward 1,000 years, which is nothing.
Yeah.
When we're talking about 4,500 years ago, we might be off by 1,000. So go to 5,500 years ago, 6,000. If you're listening to John Anthony West, he thinks it's 34,000 years.
Yeah.
That's what he thinks.
And that sounds so crazy, but then you look at the kind of length of time we've been around, and it's still quite recent.
Yeah, it's still quite recent. How much evidence of a quantum computer from 34,000 years ago would be left? Right.
Nothing.
So if we did get pelted by comets, which we know happened, that's a fact.
I saw an estimate, I think it was from NASA, but I'm not 100% sure, but it was from a kind of scientific journal, that Earth is hit by what they define as a cataclysmic impact every 100,000 years. So that's an impact that's capable of wiping out a third of today's population every 100,000 years. And 100,000 years sounds like a long time, but again, we've been around for 300,000 years. So theoretically, we've been hit by a cataclysmic impact 3 times already during our story. And that both has the potential to completely wipe out anyone that was doing anything sophisticated, but also to wipe the record clean.
Yeah.
And that's not the only thing. You've got, super volcanoes, as we talked about. You've got pole shifts, you've got solar flares, you've got glaciers just scraping across the landscape and just completely erasing the record. You've got sea level rise. Sea level rise is a massive one because, where have we always lived? By the coasts. And if you look at the kind of fluctuation of sea level rise over the last 100,000 years, 200,000 years, 300,000 years, it's sea levels going in and out by hundreds of kilometers at a time, and nothing is going to be left.
Right. Wild stuff.
I know, it's crazy.
If someone is a historian and they got into this, someone's an archaeologist and they got into this because they have this fascination for it, for them to become professors and then start teaching and writing books about this stuff and not still be fascinated by the new stuff is, to me, so weird. It's like you missed the whole reason why you got into this in the first place. You got into this in the first place is because you're trying to figure out what happened. How did we get to this point? And if there's evidence that shows that we don't have the full picture and you're ignoring that or dismissing that or...
But the thing is, when you go through these kind of systems, and I've sort of got experience of this. Obviously, I was never a professional academic or anything like that. But, I did history for 4 years. I was kind of inside, and I got to the point where it was almost, you was do this as a career, become a professional academic or not. It's very hard to kind of even think this way because everyone around you is thinking within these boxes that we've created for ourselves. And so it's very hard to kind of open your mind, and you kind of have to do it in private as well, because no one else is talking in those terms around you, and you're surrounded by people that think in quite limited terms. And I don't say that to kind of be offensive or, doubt anyone's intelligence.
Culture.
Exactly, it's the culture, and it means that no one is. It's very hard to think outside the box when you're kind of in that culture, and I think that's kind of what creates these rigid systems of thought.
It's also kind of fear-based, because it's not just discouraged; they'll attack you.
No, I mean, they attack each other even when they are within
viciously.
the box. Yeah.
Just to think about the Clovis first issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best example.
It's the best example, because that guy was destroyed.
You're
His
talking
career
Tom
was
Dillahay.
destroyed.
And Jack St. Mars and
they
few
were
others.
right.
Yep.
They were destroyed for theorizing that human beings had lived in North America and that had arrived in North America far before 13,000 years ago. And that was the established timeline of the Clovis people. And then when they found these footprints in New Mexico that are 22,000 years old.
Yeah, and they hated that as well. They hated that.
Of course they hated it. But they hated it just because they were wrong. It's all it is, man. It's human ego is so gross. And this brings me back to psychedelics. Because what do psychedelics do that's most important? Well, the dissolving of the ego. It's one of the most important aspects of it. It makes you realize the folly of your ways. And all of these people that are supposed to be the academics, they're supposed to be the enlightened ones. They're not enlightened. They have information, and they hold that information like it's their identity. And they're right about a lot of things because they have been studying it, and they do deserve credit for that. What they've done is amazing. And the understanding that these academics, these archaeologists and historians can give us of our world and our history is really cool. It's really awesome. But there's a whole lot more out there. And for them to pretend and dismiss people they should embrace people like Graham Hancock. And then they should correct him when he's saying something that's wrong.
Yeah.
But instead of lying and then calling him a racist and saying all these terrible things about him, well, that just shows me that you don't really have an argument. And you're trying to protect your identity. Your identity is the gatekeeper of this information that is not yours to gatekeep. It's for the whole human race to understand what the hell happened.
Yeah. And I wish that, we've seen a surge in interest in ancient history and prehistory and, the story of our species through people like Graham Hancock, who have kind of created a massive interest in this subject. But instead of embracing that, they see it as a threat. And I think that's really sad, to be honest. And yeah, I think it kind of hurts the discipline in general, because if you kind of embrace that and brought him into the table and spoke to him and kind of agreed to have the discussion, then it would create a much kind of more healthy debate around these things. And when you talk about the Clovis kind of narrative, it because we think that we know what happened and thus we know what didn't happen, it means that people aren't even looking for stuff that now we know was there. So they didn't dig deeper than the Clovis layer until very recently, because they knew that humans weren't around until Clovis, but obviously that was wrong. So they could have missed so much stuff, and they probably did.